Hi, everyone. This is Pam Palley with Focus IT, and this is part 3 of our 3-part series training that we've been doing in the month of February on the PointCentral Admin page. We're going to be starting our call here in just a little bit. We want to give everyone a chance to get connected in. So again, this is part 3 of our 3-part series of our training on the PointCentral Admin page. And today on the call, we're going to talk about the Configuration tab, the PointCentral Service, and Help. We'll be starting here shortly. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Again, this is Pam Palley with Focus IT, and this is part 3 of our 3-part training series on the PointCentral Admin page. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to get started, and hopefully some other people can join in. Okay, so hopefully everyone can hear me okay. So let's go ahead and let's get started. We spent the last 2 calls going over the PointCentral Admin page. We've talked about how to handle users and user groups and data folders and templates and card decks. We talked a little bit about rules, how reservations work, statuses, and reports. So we've covered quite a bit in the last 2 calls. So today's call, we're going to talk about the configuration page. Now, most of you probably don't venture into the configuration tab under your PointCentral admin page very often, because if we're hosting your PointCentral server for you, we do most of this work on your behalf. But let me tell you what the options are under this page and exactly how they work. If you happen to stumble across configurations and you go to parameters, you'll notice that this is a very basic setup screen. Now, one of the things that we do ask our customers is we ask them to please do not change your admin username or your admin password without reaching out to us here at Focus IT first. For us to be able to run maintenance and security updates and PointCentral updates and things like that on your site, we have to know what your PointCentral admin password is, and we keep it stored in your encrypted file here. So if you have a need to change your password, no problem at all. Just reach out to us at our support line. We'll help you change that password. We'll record it in your file here. So next time we have to run maintenance, we'll have access to your system and be able to do that. The account ID, of course, is your Calyx ID number. That really shouldn't change. So once it's in, should pretty much stay the way it is. The next box below talks about your MyCalyx digital key. Now, this digital key should refresh itself every 30 days. So basically what that means is your PointCentral admin page talks to your mycalyx.com account every 30 days and registers a new key. Would there be a need for you to come in and actually register the new key yourself? Yes, absolutely. If you're going to add to the number of Calyx users that you have, and you reach out to your rep at Calyx, and they take your request and they send you an email. In that email, it usually tells you that that user account has been set up. The problem is that a lot of our customers will come to the PointCentral admin page, and they'll notice on the Home tab that the additional user isn't showing. What's remaining is still showing 0. So they'll reach out to us, and they'll go, Calyx said that they added an additional user for me, but I don't see it under my PointCentral admin page. What do I need to do? Well, basically, if you dig down in that email that comes from Calyx, there is a section a little bit down in that email that talks about coming to configuration, going to parameters, coming to your parameter screen, and clicking on this button that says Refresh Digital Key. When you do, it simply will come back and say, my Calyx digital key has been saved. You can come down and click on Refresh Digital Key as much as you want. Okay, it doesn't matter. It won't hurt anything. So by clicking that, it immediately forces the system to go to your mycalyx.com account, pull down your license number of users, and re-register your key. So if you ever go into your PointCentral admin page, and when it first opens and you're on the Home tab, if you ever see some red warning message below here and that your numbers are in red, it means for some reason your digital key wasn't able to update on the 30-day mark. All you have to do is come to Configurations Parameter and simply click this button manually to have it register the key. So if you reach out to us and tell us that you've been kicked out of PointCentral and it won't let you in, 9 times out of 10, we're going in and simply re-registering the key for you. because once it can't register the key, I believe it gives you 21 to 30 days to fix it. Otherwise, it will prevent future logins to Point. Down below here is where we list the organizational security key. That key really doesn't need to be changed, but we do change it on occasion. We will come into the organizational security key and we'll place an X at the end of the security key. By doing that and saving it, what it does is it prevents any new users from logging in to Point. It comes back and it says invalid security key, please talk to your Point administrator. We do that when we're running, everyone should be familiar with, when we're running what's called a forced sync on your server. Basically, Calyx is very unique. Your data is stored in 2 locations for each one of your Point files. Some of your data in your Point files is stored in that .brw file under the data folder, either on the borrower or the prospect side. And some of that information is stored in SQL tables on the server. Well, sometimes the SQL tables and the .brw file will get out of sync. And when they get out of sync, it starts to create problems where you have data that's not showing up properly, you can't find a file, different unusual things will happen. So what will need to be done is we'll need to run a forced sync on the server. When a forced sync is run, you must be out of, all users must be out of the server to run that forced sync. So of course, the first thing our system does is it goes into the reservations and it makes sure that no one's logged in. And if they are, I do apologize, we usually do this very late at night, so it simply means that you didn't properly log out of the system, so we will kick you out, our program will. Once that's done, it puts an X under the security key, and it saves it temporarily, and then we run the force sync on the system. Once it's done, we come in and we remove the X, and then when you come in the next morning, you're back up and running, and your data is either there or you're able to now locate that missing file. So basically, changing the security key will kick any future logins, will prevent any future logins to the into Point. If they're already logged into Point, it will not kick them out, but it will prevent them from logging back in again. Okay? The next one below, I'll be honest, I don't have a lot of customers using this, but you do have the ability to force your users to change their passwords, and you can decide how often you want those passwords changed. So you can come in and you can force a 30, 60, 90 day and require, and what will happen is when their anniversary rolls around on the 91st day, when they go to log into Point, it will come up with a box and tell them that they have to change their password. They have to provide the old one and then they have to provide the new one. And then once it's saved, the 30-day count, this 90-day count will start all over again. Okay, users being locked out. This one here, I'll be really honest, doesn't, as far as I can tell, always stand true to what you see here. It says the maximum number of failed logins is 5. That can be increased if you want to, and that one pretty much stands true. Now, we talked about it in a prior call that up here under users, you have the ability to come here to locked out users. If a user gets locked out because they attempted to log in too many times with an incorrect password, it will show their account here, and you can simply delete their account from here, freeing it back up again, and they can attempt to log back in. So this by default is set to 5. You can lessen it if you want to, or you could increase it if you want to. Out here, the locked out period is supposed to basically lock you out of a Point file, I believe, if it's dormant after so many minutes pass by. I've not really tested this, and I haven't found it necessarily to be true. If anyone on the call today has more information on this one and wishes to share it with the group where I'm lacking it, I would be more than, that would be wonderful. Because I find once they get locked out, to free them back up again, you have to go into users to locked out users and delete them. This here is saying in 15 minutes it clears it automatically. I think that's kind of a hit and miss. I don't think it actually does it every 15 minutes as per stated here. So the reservation part of it is the timeout. I got them mixed up for just a split second here. And the timeout one, again, is supposed to be where if you are dormant on the system, it's supposed to be logging you out. And of course, those types of reservations end up showing down here as inactive reservations. You'll notice a lot of times when you're looking at reservations and they show inactive down here, some of them underneath the last refresh time will have a little option to delete them. whenever I go into this screen, I like to do a cleanup, because if they've gone inactive and they've been kicked out, they've long since released the active reservation on it and they've logged back in, and this is just historical records. It really doesn't hurt anything. So you're welcome to delete them to clean it up if you wish to do so. Okay. This talks about doing an automatically rebuilds all of the template sets on a nightly morning basis, and it's scheduled to do the rebuild at 8:30 a.m. This usually is something that runs in the background. You never even notice it. You don't even realize the system is doing it. Okay. The next one here is template sets performance option. It says force Point to download the entire template set archive when more than 50 template files change. Now, basically, I've never had anyone check this before, because in case you didn't know, everyone, when you open up Point, and if you really pay attention to the little verbiage that comes up on the screen, each time you log into Point, the first thing that it does is it downloads your information to a local profile, and that local profile is usually stored on your C drive under your Windows folder. I can get this to work for me right here. Give me just a second. Get my mouse to work. Under your Windows folder, I'm sorry, I'm really having one of those days, ain't I? Under your users folder, not your Windows folder. So you want to go to your users folder, your user profile. You're going to go to app data. And then, of course, if you go into local, you'll know under local you have a Calyx software. Now, this is basically, a lot of the Calyx service packs and things like that Calyx is storing, that's doing updates to your Point and stuff. What you're looking for is not going to be under the local. What you're going to find it is when you go into the roaming. So roaming is where you would go into your Calyx software, you would go to Point, you would go to all users, and these would be all the different users that have logged into the system. And if you were to go down and find the user that had logged in, and most of the time I log into mine under Focus IT, you'll see here that these files should look somewhat familiar if you've ever taken time and you've glanced at the template sets and your data folders. There are different INI files out there for them. You can go into the Point folders. This get quite lengthy, and as you continue to drill down, as you can tell, this is my demo site, and so I have a lot of garbage out there, but yours would be much cleaner. But anyways, the sum of it is basically that information does get stored on the local computer. So when you're utilizing templates within Point in a file, it's not reading them from the server, it's actually reading them from your local computer. Sometimes you'll have issues where your new templates that were changed don't download. Changes to existing templates don't download. Different things happen. When you run into a case like that, you can safely, without worrying or anything, you can actually go in to your user account on your C drive. You can go into your profile. You can go to app data, and you can come into your roaming profile. You can find your Calyx and go into your Point, go to all users and find your file. Like this case, you can find the Focus IT or the one that you use to log into the system. You can right-click on that file and you can safely delete it. Deleting this file will not cause you to lose any information or anything. Basically what it does is it deletes the file, and then when I log back into Point, it recreates the file. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to close it out. This is the one that I use. I'm going to right-click and I'm simply going to delete it. And it's going to take a few minutes because, like I said, this is my demo site and I have a lot of garbage in there. So we'll go ahead and let that move to the recycling bin. I guess I had a lot more garbage in there than I thought. So this is going to take just a few seconds. So we'll go ahead and we'll let that file delete. And then once it's deleted, then what it's going to do is it's going to allow me to bring that, when I open back up Point, it's going to recreate that. So what I'm going to do is minimize that for now, and we'll turn around and come back to that in just a few minutes. Okay, so basically if you ever have problems where you're logging into Point and everyone's sharing the same template set and your template set isn't matching the person's next to you, their template set is more updated, what you're going to want to do is call into our support line, and we'll be more than happy to walk you through the process of deleting that local user profile and letting it rebuild the next time you log into Point so that all of the information you have is accurate and up to date. And of course, this information here is entered by us. You would never ever want to come in and change this, because if you do, you'll no longer find your templates, nor will you find your point files. So these are basically telling the system what root folder path to look at for your point files. And of course, this is stored in the temporary folder when point is performing certain functions, and then it gets removed. So those three are very important, and you want to make sure that you never change them. One of my favorite things that I like to make sure gets enabled for my customers when I'm deploying them on PointCentral for the first time is the audit trail. When you engage the audit trail, you also have the ability, when you're setting up your security within your data folders, to decide who has access to view that audit trail. So when you're setting up security under your utility menu, it lists the audit trail, and you can either do no access, which means it grayed out, they can't see it, or they have the right to view it. The audit trail is, everyone, simply a read-only file, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tell the system to log me back in under my account. You see here, this is the user that I log in as. This will take a couple minutes to load, so we'll let it load in the background. But basically, the audit trail, no access is grayed out, and view is strictly read-only. What I love about the audit trail, everyone, is basically what it does is it records the date, the time, the user who's logged into Point. It records the field ID number, the field name, what was in the field when you opened that loan, and what was in the field when you closed and saved that loan. So if you ever want to go back to see who changed the interest rate, who entered the income, who altered the loan amount, you can go into the audit trail, and the audit trail will tell you exactly who did what and when. Let me show you how that looks as soon as mine opens back up here, and it's seriously thinking about opening. So let's give it another minute. It takes a little bit longer when you log back in and you delete that profile. So if you do delete your profile and you go to log back into Point, give Point just a few minutes to finish rewriting that profile and opening up. Once it does, I'll show you where that audit trail is and what a great job that it does. The last thing that is not enabled by default, but you're welcome to come in and choose to participate if you want to, and that's in your Calyx Experience and Improvement Program. So basically, they record different information and use of the system so that they can better support the system and make changes. If you want to see what it's all about, there's a link at the bottom, and you can click here, and it will open it up, and it will explain to you all of the information and tell you a little bit about the program. Okay. Let's see, my Point system isn't opened back up yet, so let's give it another minute here and see if we can get it to open, and there we go. Okay, so the first thing that I got here was what everyone should be familiar with seeing is anytime there is a service pack pushed out or a new version pushed out to Point, you know, when you close Point and you open it back up again, it's going to come up with an information page that's going to talk about that new version. In this case here, it's Point version 10.1. If you don't want this to open up the next time you log in, it's very easy. Simply check the box down here that says don't show this message again and simply close it. And it will tell you that it will never open it back up again. But we want Point to open. So let's see if it's going to open for me. There we go. Okay, so now that I have Point open, let me go and open a file. And let me show you how to access. Now from here, if you were to go up to utilities, you're not going to see an audit trail. An audit trail is Loan Pacific. It's not Company Pacific, it's Loan Pacific. What you normally see here when you don't have a loan open, these are normally Company Pacific settings. These are settings that would apply to any loan that is created within the Point system. If you're looking for something that's specific to that loan, you have to open the loan. So in this case, we'll go ahead and we'll open this loan at random. So let's hope I've got some audit information in there. Once you have the loan open, now if you were to go to utilities, you would find here this wonderful little audit trail option. Now, if no access had been selected under the security settings, this would still show in the menu, but it would be grayed out, just like it is down here for escrow tables and title tables. So if we were to come up and we were to click on the audit trail, it's going to open up this wonderful little history window. Now, not much on this demo loan of mine, but basically you can get the idea. It records the change date. Now, this time and date is when the file is saved. It records the user who opened the file. It records the field name. It records the field ID number. It records what was in the field before the file was open, and it records what was in the field when the file was closed and saved. I use this sometimes for my own sanity check, everyone. I love to go back in and look at the audit trail going, did I really change that or did someone else? Maybe I changed it by accident, because come on, everyone, how many of you have been in the wrong file and made a change? Because you're on the phone, you have 10 files on your desk, 3 people standing there wanting information from you, life gets a little crazy. So the audit trail is a really nice way to go back in and check your own sanity. It's also a great way if you change something accidentally in the wrong loan and you want to know what you need to change it back to, the audit trail is going to tell you. It'll tell you this was the interest rate it was, this is what you changed it to, so now you know you need to go back and change it to the prior one. So it really is a great feature. You do have the ability to come in and do a date search if you wish to here. Also, there is a document audit trail that is recorded here that will let you know the action date of the different documents and who uploaded them to document storage. I haven't done much with that one. It's the field one that I've spent most of my time on. And of course, you also have the ability to come down here and click on a print button. So if you want to record it so that you have things documented, it will actually take what you see on the screen and it will allow you to print it. You can sort on these fields, but they get a little touchy. The screen, as you can tell, I can't expand it anywhere. This is the size of it, but if I come over here and I choose to sort on field ID number and I have field names that are quite lengthy, it tends to push things out of the window sight and I end up needing to do some scrolling. But you can come in and sort on the different fields simply by clicking on them. So if you want to look to see if a specific user made changes or anything along those lines, those are interactive columns. So it really is an awesome tool. That's the reason why, and I will honestly admit to everyone, for all of our clients that we deploy on PointCentral, we do by default engage your audit trail, but during the deployment, we let you know that we have engaged it and we give you an option to uncheck it and save it if you wish to not. Okay, so again, the audit trail does a really nice job, and the only thing that we ask that you do not change under your configuration and parameter settings, again, is we do ask you, please do not change your admin username or password without reaching out to us here at Focus IT First. So now let's go ahead and let's go to delete CardX. Now, to delete a CardX, the only way to do it is to do it under configuration and to go in and click delete. Deleting a CardX will delete the CardX. Okay, this is not like switching to conventional. Okay, when you come in and you choose delete a CardX and you come up and click delete, it is going to delete the CardX. If you accidentally delete a CardX, do remember that we do keep backups of your template set as well as your data folders, and we do retain those up to 30 days out. So we do have the ability to recover an accidentally deleted CardX if you happen to do that by mistake. Now, I know a lot of people have inquired through our support line about supported fields. What supported fields are is these are fields that Calyx supports and some of their fields they don't support. I'm not quite sure I understand their logic on that. Some new fields that get added, I guess, don't automatically get added to the support list. So when you go into Point and you're creating a report in your template set, sometimes when you go to save it, it will come back and it will say either unsupported field, or when you go to generate that report, it may come back and not provide you data in those fields, and you may get an error message because it's an unsupported field. So you'll call Calyx, you'll reach out to them, they'll tell you to reach out to us, and the instructions are, all they're wanting you to do is to go to configuration, to Point fields, and they're wanting you to come down here to this option to add fields, add additional fields. When you come here, you would enter the field ID number down here, you would put a description, and you would simply click Add Field Definition. So we'll add the field to these. So these are the fields that were added manually. The other list are fields that are added by default by Calyx. And then when you go to run that report, it should allow you to access that field and provide you with the data you're looking for on the report. The only problem that you run into when you do add fields is it does require a rebuild, okay? So it tells you here, when you go to add a field, it says to click on the Rebuild Additional Field button below, okay? This is where you have to be really, really careful, everyone, because by default, down here, full synchronization, forced, of all data folders after rebuilding the additional field. If you click this button, you're getting ready to run a full force sync on your data. If you do this in the middle of the day, you're going to kick all your users out and make everyone extremely unhappy. Now, the rebuilds do run much faster than they used to 6 or 7 years ago, but they still do take time to run depending on the size of your database, and it's usually something that you do not want to do during the business hours. You would prefer to have something like that done in the middle of the night when everyone's sleeping. So what we recommend to our clients is go ahead and go in and add those additional fields that you're looking for, but do not come down here and rebuild your additional fields. Reach out to us in customer service and let us know that you would like to schedule an automatic rebuild of your PointCentral database in the middle of the night. We will schedule it through our automated system. The rebuild will run, and then when you come back in the next morning, you will be able to run your report, access those fields, and you would not have interrupted your users during production hours. Okay, so you do want to be very careful. You're welcome to come in once all your users are out of the system and run this yourself if you choose to do so. But if we're willing to do it for you and it's automated, you know, your personal time is your personal time, but it's really totally up to you. Okay, now when we're requested to run a rebuild on the system, the rebuilds are done a little uniquely to make sure that everything realigns inside PointCentral. If you're going to run a rebuild yourself, take some notes on this call on the proper way to run a full force sync and make sure that everything realigns itself. The first thing you want to do when you're running a full force sync is you want to go to templates and you want to go in and you want to edit your primary template. So you want to go into your template that you have everyone set up on. You want to go all the way down to the bottom and you want to click Rebuild Template. Now you can rebuild a template anytime you want. Rebuilding a template can be done during production hours. It can be done in the evening. But you want to rebuild the template first and make sure that the rebuild of the template has everything realigned. So when you're referencing the templates for like closing cost scenarios, loan programs, and different things like that, that they're all aligned. So you want to run that one first. Then you want to come over to configurations, go back to your point fields, and you want to come to the custom field list. Now the custom fields is additional fields that do get added. And as you can see here, these are from the custom screens that get built in the system. And if you remember, we talked about this in some prior calls. Inside Point, for everyone who's just joining today and didn't know, with no files open, if you go up to Utilities, you come down to Load Field ID Numbers and go to Borrower, the Point system will open a blank loan, and in that blank loan, it will provide you with all your field ID numbers. If we go to Forms, and we come down to custom screens and fields, you'll notice that when we open these up, these are the 9900 series. And that's what you're seeing on the screen here. So the first thing that you do is you come in and you rebuild your custom fields. But I don't want the full force sync to run on this. I don't need it to. I simply want to rebuild them and realign them first. So I would rebuild my templates. I would come into Parameters, Point Fields, go to Custom Fields, uncheck Full Sync, and I'd rebuild my custom fields. Then I would come into my field list, go to my additional fields, and then I come down and I engage Rebuild Additional Fields. So there's a specific order in which the rebuild you want to run to get a really true, complete full force sync on your data. And that's what we're doing for you in the background. So when you request to have your database, a force sync run on your database, those are the processes that we've automated, and that's what we run on your site each time. So that way we make sure when you open up Point the next day, your templates are in line, your custom data fields are in line, and all of your data is in line, and your .brw files and .prs files are in sync with your SQL tables. So it really does a nice job, and it's nicely automated, and we kick it into run in the middle of the night. Okay, so let's talk about imports. When we bring someone on that was using Point Conventional and we move them from Point Conventional to PointCentral, what we do is we come into Import and we go to Data Folders and we import their data folders. It allows all their data folders to be imported in the system, and all their loans get matched up to the SQL tables and they get indexed by the SQL tables. If I was to come here and I was to go to import data, you would notice here that no data fields are showing right now. We're going to go back to configurations, and I'm going to come down here to folder maintenance, and I'm going to go to switch conventional. I know I'm jumping out, but bear with me for just a moment. When you no longer want to see a data folder here, let's say you're not using it anymore. Let's say that you created it by mistake, and when you go to data folders and list data folders, you no longer want to see it. You can come in here, you can find a data folder you're not using, and you can simply come over here and click the button that says switch to conventional. When it does, and you click OK, when you inquire through support or Calyx and you say you want to delete a data folder, they tell you to go switch it to conventional. People get confused. They think by switching to conventional, it's actually deleting the data folder, but it is not. If you were to go to configurations and you were to go back to import and go back to data folders, it's actually going to show you all of the data folders here that you switched to conventional. So if you have a lot of data folders out there, some of it has some garbage, you're not quite sure what you want to do with it, you don't want it involved when you're running for syncs and things like that, you can actually switch data folders to conventional, let them reside on the server. They will remain out there. The data will remain in the folders. And then later on, if you decide that you've made a mistake, you can actually come back in and recover them. You can recover them, again, by simply going to configurations to import to data folders. Come over here and select the data folder that you want to import. Tell it you wanted to import the users and access rights when importing the folder so it all comes back in. Simply click on Import Folder. When you do, and you come over to your status, it'll show you that it re-imported the folder. Now, when you do bring a folder back online and you go to your data folders and list them, it will show your folder. Okay, that's not a problem at all. It will show you the folder that it brought back in again. And usually it's going to be probably the last folder that you see on however many pages of the data folders list you have. As you can see, we have quite a few on our demo site. But the next thing that you're going to want to do is when you edit it, you're going to notice here, even though I left that box checked to tell it to re-import the users and access rights, you're going to see here it did not. Okay? That feature doesn't always work. Don't assume that it's going to. Until you come back into that folder that you re-imported, that you had switched to conventionals, until you come back in and you add your security, that folder is not going to be visible to users. And of course, even if you add security, they're not going to see that folder you re-imported until they log out of Point and log back in again. But don't reassign your security up here. Basically, don't forget to come down and use these wonderful boxes that we talked about on a prior call and how great these are for copying your company defaults from one data folder to the other, or coming down here and copying your access rights. So I would simply come down here, choose another data folder that has the access rights that I'm looking for, and simply click copy. When I do and I click OK, then I'm good to go. So now if I go back and I go to that folder and I edit it again, there's all my security rights. I didn't have to go and set them up one at a time. All I have to do is pull them in from another one, and if I want to make changes, I can do that. So when you go to import and you go to data folders, this box is checked by default. It doesn't always work, so don't rely on it. Be sure to go back and check the security on the data folder. So as you can tell, switching a file to conventional doesn't remove it, okay? It does allow you to re-import it if you choose to do so. You can import users and access rights. You're never really going to use that. That's something that could be used if you were moving from one PointCentral system to another. Basically, what we do for clients that are self-hosting on PointCentral and they come on board with us with PointCentral to make sure that nothing gets missed, we don't use these functions. We actually grab your SQL tables and we bring them over and we reload them on top of the ones that were created when we created your new site. It makes it much cleaner and it does a much better job. Template sets, you can import template sets. So if you had a new user that came on board that was using Point Conventional, and they said that they had templates already set up that they would like to continue to use, you can actually send us their PNT template folder. And if you send this to us, we will upload it onto the server for you. And then we can either do it for you or let you know it's been uploaded, and you can actually come to import template set. It will let you locate it on the server and import it. So you can bring template sets in. If you currently don't have a good setup on your template sets and you've hired a processor that's come from somewhere else that had a lot of really good templates and they think they would benefit your company, they don't have to go back in and reset them up in your system. If they have access to them from the old system, reach out to our customer support line. We can actually get those templates into your system for you, and it's really quite easy and done quite quickly. Okay. Again, we can also import your Cardex. So if we import a CardX into PointCentral, it doesn't override the existing CardX, it actually appends, okay? So if you brought on a new loan officer and they said, well, I have a CardX, I don't want to lose my CardX, you can either import their CardX and only give them rights to see it, or you can import their CardX into PointCentral and add it to your CardX so that their information is now available in the new system. Okay, and then of course you can import users from a file. I haven't done that in a really long time. It didn't work because then even it was limited information you could import, so you were still forced to go in and edit each user account. I found it much easier just to set them up. Okay. Folder maintenance, we talked about switching to conventional. Let's talk about synchronization. You can actually come in and sync your data folders during production hours. You can't run a forced sync, but you can run a plain sync. So if you're having issues in your application folder and you know that someone added a loan to it, but it's not showing in Point, you could actually come in, select the application folder, come down and click on the button Sync Checked Folders, or even if you came down here and clicked on Sync All Folders. Either one can be done during production hours. It doesn't mean it won't slow people down and Point won't get a little sluggish while it's running, but you can do that during production. The only one you cannot do with people logged in the system is the full force sync. Okay. And then template set maintenance. This one is your template types. Okay, so this is just strictly just a reference table. If you're looking at the templates on someone's computer and you don't know what's stored where, this will simply tell you that the loan programs are stored in the subdirectory called Loan Programs, the file extensions, or LPRs, and it tells you how to access them in the system. And it tells you, you know, custom forms and how they're stored, or it tells you reports and how they're stored. It's just a nice informational screen. You also have the ability to copy templates. So if you wanted, let's say that your template set is getting a little messy, you want to do a cleanup, but you want to keep a copy of it just in case you delete something you didn't really mean to delete, you can actually come in and you can say, I want to copy it from the demo site, I want to copy all of the template files, or I can just pick and choose which ones I want to copy. Okay, I can come down here, and if I'm going to copy it from a Pacific, I can say delete designated template files before copying, rebuild templates after the copy is done. Down here is where I get to select which one I want to copy it to. Okay, so if I wanted to copy from the demo to my for testing site, I can do that. If I wanted to copy it from demo to the organizational template set, I could do that. I can come down and say copy into the selected. I can select one, I can select many, or I can simply hit copy into all. This here is basically copying from one template set to the other. I would, before you do any of that, you can actually come to the screen and, sorry about that, I wanted to go to add. You can come in, and here's where you can actually make a backup. So I would come in here and I would call this backup, and I would give it the template name. I would come down and I'd say copy from the demo site, and I'd simply do, you know, add to the templates, let it make the copy. So that way, if I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start messing around with things and I'm going to copy one from the other, I know that I have a backup. I'm one of those individuals, everyone, that I like backups of my backups. So there's really not much that you can do here. I know it's a lot, but reach out to us. I just want you to know what your options are. I don't expect you to remember how to do them, but I do want you to know that you do have options. You can reach out to our support line, and we're more than happy to help you with them. And of course, then the last thing is switching a template set to conventional. It's going to do the same thing as it does when you switch a data folder. It's simply going to take it offline, leave that file on the server, and you can always re-import it later if you choose to do so. So as you can tell, that was a lot in a short period of time. A lot of different things you can do under the configuration. When you come to PointCentral Services, you'll know that this is providing you with a link to the help page ASP. If you come up here and you click on that, basically all it's doing is that simple one is saying that the PointCentral service is running, and you would always want this to say that it is running, and you'd want this to reference the IP. It's just a way to test to make sure that the PointCentral server is online and that it is up and running. So that's one way to test the site. If you want to actually look at the knowledge base, your link is here for your PointCentral knowledge base, and if you click on that, it will take you to Calix's software and into their knowledge base. That's pretty much all you're going to find there. And of course, if you go to help, you're going to do the same thing. This is going to take you to their knowledge base. This is going to take you to the most recent, latest releases. If you remember, I actually checked this so that it didn't show anymore. But if I wanted to see it again, I could locate it here. And if I unchecked it, it would keep popping back up again. So it's just going to show me the latest release. And then down here, it's going to take you to their support site. And I haven't done much with this lately, but I do know that they are doing a lot with improving the support that they're offering to their customers. And then, of course, on the help, you have those three. And then, of course, you come down and simply you're logging out. And basically, that's it. So there's not really a lot under these last three options for this call today that you're actually going to go in and do much on your own, everyone. But I did want you to be aware of what your options were. The things that you're going to find to be most helpful is if you forget how to get to Calix's knowledge base, it's really easy to log into the site and go here to the PointCentral knowledge base. And then, of course, once you're at their knowledge base, they do allow you to search for the things that you're looking for. So if you don't have this marked as a favorite, you can locate it through your PointCentral admin page and do it there. And basically from there, you can pretty much get about anywhere that you're going. On the configuration side, most of the time, the one thing that you would need to remember and have access to is the ability to come in and refresh that digital key when you add additional users to your Calix subscription account. And you want to be able to, once you get that email back from Calix letting you know that the user is set up, you want to get them into PointCentral admin as quickly as possible. So upon receiving that email, log into your PointCentral admin page. Be sure to go to configurations and to parameters. Come over here and click on refresh your digital key. It'll come back and it'll tell you that it's been refreshed. Then once you go to the home page, users remaining should show the additional user license that you've added, which then should allow you to go to users and add that additional user. One of the things that I forgot to tell you while you're waiting for that license, if you're already in PointCentral, you can go to users and add a user ahead of time. You can add that user and set them up just under access, don't check point. If you try to check point and you don't have an available user license, it will not allow you to save the screen. If you leave the point box unchecked, set the user up so that way once the license comes in, all you have to do is go to users and list users, find your user, come over and simply check the box, and voila, they're now active, and you can provide them with their user ID and password and they can log in. So if you're already on this page and you're doing something and you want to go ahead and set that user up ahead of time, that's just a little trick that I do and it works out quite nicely. So that's really the bulk of what you're probably going to do. It's going to be up to you security-wise whether you want to start mandating forced passwords and if you want to engage or if you want to enable or disable the audit trail. Let's go ahead and let's see what kind of questions anyone might have. Do you recommend to have the change password for the user marked? Boy, that's a tough one, guys. That's a really tough one. Personally, I know that us as users, we absolutely hate changing our password every 60 or 90 days. I really, that's totally up to you and to the policies that you have in place for your company. I know the majority of people that engage the forced password change are the banks. Because of the federal requirements and things like that, they don't have a choice. Most of the banks where we're hosting their PointCentral server, they do have forced password expiration in place, and the users are required to change it every 90 days. As a broker or a lender, that's really going to be up to you. And what you're going to want to do is reach out to your compliance department. The compliance department is the one that's writing up your audit and your your guidelines and policies for your company, and they're the ones that address the auditors when they walk in the door. So find out from them in your quality assurance write-ups and stuff whether they've indicated on the IT side that the users are required to change passwords. If they are, then you do want to go in and set this up because you do not want an auditor to walk in look at the policies and procedures you present to them, have it stated in there that it's mandatory password changes for them to discover that it's not engaged. They will fine you severely for that. So I would reach out to your compliance person. Another one says, our department manager has left the bank and I'm trying to figure out how to pick up on the Point admin. It looks like all template set access rights are enabled for managers, senior processors, and other processors. Any recommendations on access rights? I don't believe we should all have the same rights. Well, that's what we covered in a prior call. And if I don't have any other questions, and I'll keep an eye out, I'm going to go ahead and help this person, okay? Basically, when you're looking at templates, okay, when you come over to templates and you go to list templates and you go to set security on templates, okay, if there's no access rights added here, okay, that means who's ever assigned to that group will never even have, they will not see the template sets that reside on the server. They will have access to templates because if there's no security added here, if this was blank and someone was to log in, okay, it would not give them rights to templates on the server, okay? So it doesn't matter if you have a template set up. It doesn't matter whether you have templates added to it. If there's no rights granted, a user would not have access to this. So by default, what the system's going to do is point them to their local P&T template. And I find that happens quite often where people go, everyone's using different templates. PointCentral's not downloading the templates correctly. Something's wrong. Well, nothing's wrong. They're being forced to use their local templates because you set up the template, but you didn't add security. So you need to add security. Now, when you add security, you can go in and you can check a group. You don't need to check any of these, and you can do add group access rights. By doing that, what it does is it gives them rights to utilize the templates. That means that when they go into Point and they go to they go to create a new loan in Point, so long as they can see the templates, they'll be able to go to loan programs and choose one, and they'll be able to select it. They'll be able to go to closing cost scenarios and choose one and be able to add it. They'll be able to utilize the templates, okay? That works perfectly fine, and to give them rights to use the templates, you simply select their group and you simply add the group. If you want to give them rights to make changes to the templates, that's where it comes into play. Okay, for them to be able to, in Point, have access to click on templates down here and not have these features grayed out where they're actually live, they can click on Borrower Master and it shows them the Borrower Master. They can come over here and select one and click New or click Open. It will allow them to do it. You can see here, because I made some changes, and I have to go and see what account this one's added to right now because everyone uses it, you'll see that you're seeing the exact same thing. I can go to Borrower Master and I can click on them, but I don't have access to open them and I can't make changes to them. So my account right now that I'm logged in at simply has right to utilize the templates, but I don't have rights to make changes to the templates. If you want that group to have rights to be able to make changes to the templates, okay, then we're going to go down and we're going to edit this group, and we're going to come in and we're going to say, okay, they have rights to set up loan programs, and you may give them rights to work on closing cost scenarios. So we'll go ahead and we'll update that group. So now when they're in Point, okay, and I don't think it's going to happen here because I'm not sure what this is, but if they were now to go into Point and go to templates, and they were to come up and they were to go to loan programs, and they wanted to make changes to a loan program, they would be able to open it and make changes to it. If they wanted to make changes to closing cost scenarios, they would be able to do it. They'd be able to double click on it and it would allow them to open it, okay? This one isn't right now because they're doing some testing. It's a little messed up. But basically, to give them access to be able to get to them, you have to actually select it and add it. So your question is, you don't believe everyone should have full rights? I'm in agreement with you. They shouldn't, okay? Everyone needs full rights to be able to utilize the templates. And you want them to be able to utilize all templates. But do you want everyone in your company to have rights to go in and make changes to the templates? My personal recommendation, for what it's worth, the answer to that would be no. Okay? So what you would do is, of course, if they're a manager, you want to do select all, and managers should have full rights. They have full rights to see all loans. They should have full rights to all the templates. Your second group would be your processors group. The processors group, I would say, yes, you would want to give the processors rights maybe to, to closing cost scenarios and to maybe to print groups or reports or one of those. but you definitely wouldn't necessarily need to give them rights to everything. And as for loan officers, anyone that's a loan officer on the call, no offense, please, but basically on the loan officers, you normally do not give them edit rights to templates whatsoever. Okay, loan officers only need to be able to utilize them. They don't need to be able to go in and make changes to them. So when we set up access rights on our new PointCentral servers for our customers, that's usually the way that we do it. Managers get full rights to everything, processors get limited, and loan officers get rights to utilize the templates, but they do not have rights to make changes to those templates. So I hope that helps. But again, this is only my own personal opinion. Okay, any other questions that I can answer in the call today? Before I forget, everyone, I appreciate you taking time and joining me on these calls. I really do, and I love the opportunity to share with you what I do know of the system, and hopefully I've been able to help different people on the call with things that you didn't know. I will be converting this to a video, and I will be uploading this video to the YouTube site, along with the other two calls that we did prior this month, and I'll be sending everyone an email that registered for the call, the links to the YouTube videos. I have not outlined the calls for the month of March yet. I do apologize. February's been a bit of a crazy month. Probably in the month of March, we're going to go back to our Pulse application, and inside Pulse, we're going to talk about our Pulse marketing. And Pulse marketing is, again, part of our Pulse application, and it's a wonderful feature because it allows you to market to your borrowers to be able to get those wonderful referrals to maintain that relationship with them. And the ones that I love to set up for my customers is, at least I tell everyone, if you're not using some marketing campaign, you're leaving money on the table, because you want the ability to be able to read all of your point files, read all of the names and email addresses, and if you don't do anything, at least be sure to come in and set up an email to go out on their birthday, on the anniversary of their loan closing, and don't forget those wonderful holidays, okay? And, you know, we have St. Patty's Day is coming up around the corner in March. It's a perfect time. If you go into the internet and you read about marketing, it's very important to make sure that you have at least 5 to 8 touch points during the course of a year with a customer if you want that customer to remember you, okay? And then, of course, it's not just about that, and it's not just about birthdays and holidays. We have wonderful email templates in there for your leads. How many times do you pre-qual someone and they go about looking for their dream home, and it takes them a long time to find it? By the time they find their dream home, 2 or 3 months have gone by. They fell through the cracks. You didn't mean to lose contact with them, but you did. Do you think they're going to come back to you for that loan? More than likely, the dream home they found, the realtor is going to refer them to another loan officer, and you're going to lose that deal as a company. So you want to be able to do those different types of drip campaigns and things like that, and our Pulse marketing system does a wonderful job. We did a training on this, and that link is included when I send you the hyperlinks if you want to go out and take a look at it. In the month of March, we're thinking about sharing some ideas on some custom email templates that you can create, and some success talk about some of the different ones that have been done by our current customers and the wonderful success that they're having with them. So I hope you join me. Keep an eye out. We'll have that email out to you sometime next week. Everyone, thank you so much again for joining the call. I greatly appreciate it. I hope everyone has a wonderful day. Talk to you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.